At the moment, Ro Khanna seems to be the bravest of our fake progressives in Congress. Jimmy Dore is sticking with the Dore Ultimatum designed to get progressive members in the House to hold Nancy Pelosi's feet to the fire by refusing to vote for her as Speaker unless she puts Medicare for All onto the floor for a vote. Justin Jackson, a running back for the Chargers, got into this with AOC on Twitter. AOC won't engage Jimmy Dore on Twitter, but she will engage Justin Jackson. I don't want to steal Jimmy's thunder, so you watch his show on YouTube and then join this fight on Twitter. In response to Justin, AOC said, "In contrast, you can use leverage to push for things that can happen and change lives, i.e. a $15 minimum wage vote in the first 100 days, doable, elevating longtime progressive champions to..." I can't believe this. Progressive champions to important positions of leadership, also doable. She's talking about fucking committee assignments. For one thing, there are no progressive champions unless they actually push and use leverage. And Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi are already publicly in favor of a $15 minimum wage, although they probably won't actually try to get it. The only reason it can't happen, AOC, is because you're a coward. You're not willing to stand up to Mama Bear. And you're trying to blow smoke up all of our asses. So Jimmy snaps back, "This is ridiculous. If you leverage your vote for Pelosi for Speaker, then she meets your demand because she would. There's no way she's going to give up her speakership. She'll put it on the floor for a vote if enough progressives stand up to her, which they're never going to do. Then she meets your demand and brings Medicare for All up for a vote. Then you vote for her and you get all those things. You lose nothing. Shocked you had 2 weeks and this is the lame excuse you came up with. Everyone sees this." So I put this up here so you can all join in this fight. You can all jump onto this thread and you can call out AOC and you can call out anyone else who isn't willing to use leverage against Nancy Pelosi. This is the comment I put under Jimmy Dore's video, "AOC schooled by NFL's Justin Jackson on forcing Medicare for All vote now." Again, I want you to watch this video. I'm not trying to steal it. I'm not going to excerpt any of the video. I'm going to let you watch it for yourselves. But this is the comment I made under it. "Thanks, Jimmy, for pushing this. We all know they aren't going to do it, use leverage to get a floor vote, but what our protest achieves is that we can all now stop pretending that progressives in Congress are ever going to be more than controlled opposition for the right-wing Democrats, who are never going to be more than controlled opposition for the Republicans. Once we stop pretending that frauds like AOC and Bernie are ever going to solve our problems for us is when we decide to pile into the streets, mount massive, crippling wildcat strikes like in India, and solve this for ourselves. My show is going to make this case next month after they vote for Mama Bear again as Speaker. Hopefully you will advocate for this, a bloody revolution, too. Otherwise, everyone on the left, in quote marks, including pundits, is pretending and offering mere lip service to get more subscribers instead of fighting the real fight that ultimately needs to be fought. So Jimmy, unless you're just trying to get more subscribers, you're going to tell people to pile into the streets. You're going to tell people to go on strike. You're going to tell people not to pay their rent. You're going to tell people to put guillotines in front of Jeff Bezos' house. And in front of politicians and pundits' houses, too. In this fracas on Twitter, and also with the video, because Jimmy showed this tweet during the video by Ro Khanna, we can see what's going on here in the world. People who have lost health care during the pandemic. And then he shows all of these countries' flags, and then 0, 0, 0, 0, all of these countries, and not all of them are European countries, who have not lost health care during the pandemic. And then the United States, 14.6 million people have lost health care just since the pandemic started. 14.6 million people. This is why we need Medicare for All. So it looks as though Ro Khanna may be bucking the system, and I want to give credit where credit is due. Here's a piece that came out December 12th in the Washington Post. Ro Khanna is right. Too much is at stake for Democrats to go home for Christmas. This piece is by Elaine Olin. Government is supposed to help people in need, not abandon them to their fates. But that's not what's happening here in the increasingly Dickensian United States, where both hunger and the shoplifting of basic necessities are on the rise, and the unemployed live in increasing despair. It's unconscionable what's taking place, says Representative Ro Khanna, Democrat from California. I reached out to Khanna this week because this past October he openly begged his party to accept a $1.8 billion stimulus deal negotiated with the White House. Instead, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi deemed it insufficient, appearing convinced she would have a better hand to negotiate with after the election. Fast forward to this week when Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell put the kibosh on a $908 billion plus bipartisan proposal after the Democratic leadership would not give up on desperately needed aid to state and local governments. No doubt the bipartisan plan debuted Thursday by Senators Bernie Sanders and Josh Hawley to give all Americans earning less than $75,000 another round of $1,200 stimulus payments will meet the same fate. This situation will turn catastrophic if not soon addressed. Temporary actions such as eviction moratoriums and unemployment for gig workers were enacted last spring and are set to expire by the end of the year. At the same time, others are on the verge of running out of their 26 weeks of traditional jobless benefits and 13 weeks of pandemic aid. There is nothing that symbolizes the failed state of U.S. politics better than the inability of Congress to get further financial help to increasingly desperate Americans. Even as weekly jobless claims are on the rise and states are once again imposing business and movement restrictions to stop the spread of COVID-19, Congress appears incapable of coming up with a plan everyone can sign off on. If there is no deal, says Khanna, we do permanent damage to the economy and businesses going out of business. We do permanent damage to people's lives who may be evicted, who may not be able to put nutritious food on the table for their kids, people who are going to face great agony and hardship. And let's just say it, people who are going to die because they can't afford their medication. Make no mistake, Americans want action. Justin Jackson wants action. According to a poll released Thursday by Vox and the progressive think tank Data for Progress, large majorities of both Democrats and Republicans want to see further economic aid, and they want to see it by the end of the year. At the same time, few Americans of either party have any interest in a corporate liability waiver for COVID-19, something that's a top priority for McConnell. But here's the rub. A plurality blames Democrats for the impasse. 38% say Democrats are responsible, while 31% say Republicans and 26% think both parties are at fault. Now this next part, Hélène, I'd say you're trying to blow smoke up our asses. She says this is simply not true, that both parties are at fault. Well, let me tell you, both parties are at fault. Nancy Pelosi won't put Medicare for all onto the floor for a vote. How is it not her fault if she won't even put it on the floor for a vote? She reminds us that McConnell laughed when prior to the election he was confronted by challenger Amy McGrath over his inaction on the stimulus. But Nancy Pelosi held up the deal lately mostly because she didn't want to help Donald Trump. And that exchange with Wolf Blitzer was fair. Wolf Blitzer was right to hold Nancy's feet to the fire over the stimulus bill. Now, it may be true, as Ro Khanna says, that the Republican leadership appears hyper-focused on leaving as bad an economy as possible for the incoming Biden administration. But let's just call a spade a spade. Both parties are working together to fuck the American people. They don't give a fuck about you. And Ro Khanna, if you're listening to this, which would be a miracle, if you're not willing to hold Nancy Pelosi's feet to the fire by not voting for her for Speaker next month, then you're part of the problem too. You'll never have a better chance to use leverage on Speaker Pelosi. Now this next point, Hélène gets right. Democrats can't let this repeat succeed, but at this point the only way to prevent it will be to step up and show the American people how hard Democrats are working to get them help. They cannot just hope people assume it's happening. So the Dore Ultimatum is what Ro Khanna needs to be advancing in Congress. And if they can get it to go over in the House, then it goes to the Senate, and we can see who's pretending in the Senate to support Medicare for all. We need to hold everyone accountable on this issue. The fight for 15 minimum wage is old news. We need a new fight for 15. We need 15 progressives in the House to stand up to Nancy Pelosi. So that makes Hélène's and Ro Khanna's conclusion all the more poignant. It's our moral duty to get something done. If we don't, we should all probably be sleeping in our offices on Christmas Day and working on it. We shouldn't leave until we get something done, Khanna said. So if you want to get something done, take 15 of your best buddies in the House and go camp out on Nancy Pelosi's doorstep, whether she's home or whether she's at work, and say, hey, we need this vote. We need you to put Pramila Jayapal's House resolution onto the floor for a vote. We shouldn't leave until we get something done. Then they should whip out their cell phones and get it on video. They should get a video of Nancy promising to put Jayapal's resolution onto the floor for a vote. Anything else is merely lip service.